Hey, it's RayseTheGame, school motivational speaker, ADHD study coach, and I've coached and delivered study skills seminars to over 100,000 teenagers. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about why the Junior Cert is failing your dyslexic teenager and what you as a parent can do about it. And one of the things I've noticed in 15 years of coaching and delivering programs to thousands of students all over the country is that, in particular with dyslexic students, neurodiverse teenagers, is that the Junior Cert is crushing their confidence. And for a lot of teens, they feel stupid, they feel dumb, and they feel they're not achieving. Why? Because their brains are wired differently. And in comparison to their clever friends who might be getting all those distinctions and higher merits, they feel dumb, they feel stupid. And this week was Junior Cert results week, and this week a parent contacted me whose daughter just got her results. And this girl went on a phenomenal journey with me over the last year and a half. So a year and a half, this lady reached out to me about her daughter. Let's call her Gabriella. Let's call her Gabby. And when she reached out to me, Gabby was 14, she's in second year, and she was really struggling, and she was very concerned about her daughter. Now, this girl had missed a lot of 5th and 6th class. Why? Because of COVID. And then when she went into first year, she struggled to make friends. And then in second year, because of her dyslexia, she had to be taken out of class and brought into learning support. And she hated this. Why? She was drawing attention to herself, and she was trying to apply mind maps and different techniques, but no matter how hard she tried, she still wasn't getting the results. In fact, she said to her mom, "What's the point in studying? I'm no good anyway." And as a parent, can you imagine how disheartening that is to hear your daughter say, "I'm no good anyway"? And this was having such a negative impact on her confidence that this poor girl was self-harming. And that's why her mom reached out to me. She tried the grinds, she was in counselling, but the self-harming was continuing, and she needed a different approach. Now, one of the big things when Gabby came to me is that she really hated science. The good thing is that she loved gymnastics, and I always love to focus on a student's strengths. And where she was at ease, where she felt good about herself, was in gymnastics. This is where she could train, she could work hard, she could lose herself. And I like to bring those qualities into her academic process. And one of the big things that I work on with students is to help them build tools to learn, tools to understand, tools to retain. And the big things that I work on with students is simple things like how to read, active reading, how to skim and scan. And for any student with dyslexia, reading is hugely intimidating because of the visual stress. And as Aoife, one of my dyslexic students who had a phenomenal leaving cert last year, went up 200 points, she said to me, "Ray, when I look at the page, I just see words, and then I'm trying to write pages, and nothing is going in." And one of the big things that Aoife loved was how to skim and scan, how to actively read, how to create the whiz grids, my one-page cheat sheets. Then I teach them how to retain the information using imaging. So we look at their learning style, visual, auditory, kinesthetic. In Gabby's case, she's highly auditory, so I got her to speak out loud, use the whiteboard, the Feynman technique. And we started to work on her memory, her working memory, and to help her to build up the memory muscle so she could retain and recall the information. And to be fair, just like in gymnastics, this girl was very driven, she was very gritty, and over time, we helped her to build the skills and the tools. And the great thing is she started to get the results. And this week, her mom reached out to say, phenomenal news, Junior Cert, massive success, because she got a higher merit, she got 4 merits, 2 achieved and 1 partially achieved. Now, the partially achieved was in maths. She had to work really hard in maths. She got the achieved in English and also French, which are the languages. So that's a huge achievement. But the great news is, in the big subjects, history, geography, and science, she got merits. And that's huge. And science in particular, which a lot of students struggle with because it's definitions, there's lots of concepts, there's lots of words to remember. She absolutely smashed it. And now the good news is she's in TY, and now she's talking about the Leaving Cert. And here's the big transformation. No more self-harm. And this just shows you that when a student starts to learn the tools, understand how their brain works, and this then helps them develop the confidence. And this has a massive impact on their self-esteem. The old way, a teacher would just say, or school would just say, you got to work harder. Maybe you're lazy. In fact, a parent I was speaking to recently, her son who has ADHD and dyslexia, one of the teachers said, he's lazy. Well, we know, he's not lazy. He just doesn't have the tools. And for anybody who has dyslexia, trying to read all those pages and get through all that information, that volume of content, is like trying to run the marathon, only you're stuck in quicksand. So once you've got a different toolkit, once you understand how your brain works, and we know for students who have dyslexia, they're neurodiverse and they're extremely creative. In fact, a lot of entrepreneurs, 35% of entrepreneurs have dyslexia. Steve Jobs had dyslexia, Albert Einstein, Jennifer Aniston. They're quirky, they're funny, they're extremely creative, they're great delegators, have huge energy and drive. And that's why they flourish outside of the school system. But within mainstream school, it's so difficult, especially if you have clever friends who are getting the grades, they're getting the higher merits, they're getting the distinctions, they're getting the H1s and the H2s. So what's really important for you as a parent, if your son, if your daughter has dyslexia, is to remind them to play their own game, to run their own race, to do their thing, and not to compare yourself with your peers, even though it's a big part of being a teenager, is you got to do things your way. And once you start to learn the tools, once you understand how your brain works, once you've got the right strategy and approach, everything can change, and that's where the confidence comes back in. So huge success story this week. I am absolutely thrilled for Gabby. So if you like this channel, I want you to hit subscribe. If you want my coaching, go to RayseTheGame.com. If you want me to come to your school, go to RayseTheGame.com. If your teenager is struggling with maths, click on this video right here, because last week I created a video on how to help your teen go up 4 grades in 4 months in maths. And remember guys, day by day we are raising the game.